Ladies and gents, welcome to GX, and this is finally US Air Force declared SR-72 Darkstar is real. This by channel Beyond Military. I thought it was called Son of Blackbird or something. It's called Darkstar. SR-72, right? Like a unmanned plane. Or is that the different one? I don't know. But yeah, this is okay. This is like, yeah, it is otherwise known as Son of the Blackbird. So yeah, it was a nickname. So it's called Darkstar. Yeah, it makes sense. So US has been like putting out so many planes in a way. Too many different. They have so many variants and so many designations. Like they can put out 10 planes and most people won't even know about it. Like, oh, by the way, they also put out that drone that goes at Mach 8. Like, okay. Oh, by the way, this is Darkstar. And then F-47. By the way, the Navy version is coming. Yeah, so, when you see shit like that, it's like, how can any other country compare, right? I mean, I know China is trying, but come on, like, you can't compete with this shit. So it's going to be interesting. Let's do it. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe so I know which videos to react to more. I like watching, like channels like Beyond Military. I like how he talks about certain events. I watched F-35 just being badass and being redeemed, at least to me. Because F-35 is like really bad reputation out there. Because people just criticize it, even though it's an awesome plane. So that shit is like, oh, look at that F-35 in action. So I like this channel, and I like, obviously news like this as well. This is months old. How did I miss this one? All right, let's do this one.
Lockheed Martin SR-72, an aircraft so fast it can cross oceans before the enemy even blinks. First appearing in Top Gun Maverick and nicknamed the Son of the Blackbird, it's the hypersonic successor to the
Wait a minute, is this the one that Tom Cruise flies in the start of it? It goes Mach 9? Come on.
Legendary SR-71 Blackbird. But what makes this aircraft so terrifyingly advanced? And why are rival nations like China and Russia scrambling to catch up? The United States government doesn't like to show its technological advancements in front of the whole world until it's too late for anyone to do anything about it. So we would assume that the work on
Yeah, United States doesn't like to show anything. That's one thing I like about it. Like they function as a proper military. Like they are. It's not about, oh, look at us flexing. Flexing is secondary. Like it's somehow indirect. They won't tell you shit if they have the best thing. So if they're telling you, oh, by the way, look at that SR-72 Darkstar, they probably have something else in the works already that they won't tell you about, which is classified.
SR-72 Darkstar began way before it appeared in the movie. To be successful, the SR-72 Darkstar had to meet 3 specific objectives. 1. Travel at speeds higher than or equal to Mach 6. 2. Travel above 80,000 feet for extended periods of time. And 3. Stay completely hidden from advanced tracking and radar systems. In order to achieve this, Lockheed Martin not—
How the fuck they did that? 60,000 feet, so that level of thin air? How did they... What about the intakes? Intakes doesn't look that big, so how did they manage that shit?
Not only had to have a completely redesigned aircraft, but also build a new engine and tackle the associated challenges of traveling at speeds 6 times the speed of sound, like surface and cockpit heating. Reports indicate that Lockheed Martin had been working with Aerojet Rocketdyne since 2006 to build an engine that could propel an aircraft to Mach 6 using scramjet technology. The scramjet engine uses fast-moving air to first compress and then combust. However, scramjets only provide good performance above Mach 2.5. Therefore, the SR-72 had to use another engine type at lower speeds. It was reported that, like the SR-71, the SR-72 would also be fitted with a turbine-based combined cycle engine to be able to switch between turbine and scramjet engines as needed. This system would be fed a shared inflow of air through the nozzle, but with individual airflow paths. To fully experiment with this system's feasibility with the SR-72, NASA allowed Lockheed Martin to study the existing turbine propulsion systems with a contract worth $892,000 in December of 2014. At such high speeds, the material used for the body construction would also have to be superior to that of its closest match, the SR-71. Data from SR-71 flights indicate that the surface temperature of the aircraft reached higher than 500 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, you can't really compare this with the Blackbird at this point because material science is completely different. It's not just improved, it's completely different now. We are much more accurate. So yeah, it makes sense that now we can go Mach 6. Well, back then, Mach 3, Mach 3.5 is like you start to disintegrate. Blackbird was disintegrating all the time. Like the maintenance cycle was basically rebuilding it most of the time. Like 3-4 recycle cycle might as well be building like all the outer parts of the plane. So that is insane. We can do this shit now with the Darkstar 6 Mark 6, and I bet it can go higher. This is just the thing they are telling you, right? Because in action they might need much higher speed, so they're not going to tell you. So Mark 7, Mark 8, who knows?
In flight at speeds greater than Mach 2.5. This temperature would be sufficient to melt any conventional aircraft building materials. Needless to say, the SR-72 Darkstar would have to use lightweight materials in its construction which are capable of tolerating extreme temperatures and shear stress of Mach 6. Ceramics, titanium alloys, and metal mixes would likely be chosen for this purpose, as they have been used in space shuttles flying above Mach 20. Another variable that comes into play is the few rumors of the SR-72 being unmanned, which was dismissed by the project leader of the SR-72 program, Brian Hirschberger, in a hint that he dropped when being interviewed by the YouTuber Sam Ekholm about the Darkstar's ability to fly unmanned, claiming it had the capability of doing both based and mission requirements. Now, of course, speed is everything when it comes to hypersonic spycraft like the SR-72. But it has to have the ability to drop bombs and strike targets to be able to fully utilize these capabilities. Any normal bomb would simply be unstable at hypersonic speeds, and Lockheed Martin announced in 2018 that the SR-72 would be fitted with hypersonic missiles and be able to take its first flight in 2025, while starting active duty as soon as
Why the fuck not? This is what US has been doing right now. Why not do everything? B-21, is it a bomber? Yeah, whatever. It's a bomber, sure. It's a fighter plane. It's everything. They're like, okay, what about SR, which is like reconnaissance, special reconnaissance? Do we need bomb? Yeah, fuck it. Why not? We might use it for bomb. Why not? Yeah, fitted bomb. Why make another plane when you can just use this one? Right? Seamlessness, that's what it is.
2030. But why is the SR-72 Darkstar coming nearly 30 years later than the SR-71 Blackbird? The prototype used in this film was a result of a joint venture of Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works division and Paramount Pictures designers. This is the same Skunk Works division that worked on and finalized the design of the SR-71 Blackbird back in the 1950s.
And a lot
the final
of
model of the Darkstar, designed by Daniel Simon after many iterations, later displayed in the same movie, was so realistic that Chinese intelligence agencies reportedly started conducting satellite surveys, further investigating the reality of the SR-72, in part with its similarities with the mock-up listed on Lockheed's website. Wouldn't that seem like too much attention to a science fiction film? Well, given the idea that the SR-71 Blackbird exists and holds the world record for the fastest manned aircraft, which still scares many foes of the United States, the concept of its new generation will surely turn heads and...
Wait, doesn't mean there is a NASA plane, X plane, which is even faster than the Blackbird? Right? So this is like the fastest fighter plane, right? Because I'm pretty sure NASA plane was like something X, right? I don't know. It was like 4 or 5 Mach or something, I don't know.
Roll eyes, serving as a reminder of how close fiction is to reality in today's world. Even so, is the SR-72 Darkstar concept different from the SR-71 Blackbird? Lockheed Martin designed and built the SR-71 Blackbird in the 1960s, and since then it has held itself up as the fastest manned, air-breathing aircraft in the world, going up to Mach 3.2. High supersonic speeds at the time, which has still been difficult to beat for adversaries even with today's technology. Even though some aircraft can reach that speed, none can cruise at this speed for long. But why was it needed? Well, in simple words, the US had to have eyes on its enemies without them even knowing it was there. But with advancements in radar and tracking technology, the US had to go hypersonic. To understand why the SR-72 Darkstar had to be developed, we have to know hypersonics and their role in modern warfare. Hypersonic jets and missiles are already here and constantly being worked on.
Yeah, so the reality is Like we just saw Houthi video, there is like 3.5 Mach and 4 Mach missiles. So build a 6 Mach plane, just makes sense. Even though there's going to be missiles that is faster than that, most of the people like Houthis and things won't have that fast, like missiles. So yeah, in that way, like they can just outrun this missile and still spy on it, right? So yeah, it makes sense 6 Mach because Blackbird won't work today with how seamless the missile technology has become.
On by Russia and China. The race for advanced arms has just begun, and understandably, the United States wouldn't want to be left out in the blue. Usually, anything that goes more than Mach 5 is considered to be hypersonic, and with modern defense systems, the SR-71 simply couldn't keep up with the tech advancements, which is a big reason why it was retired from service in 1998. So, Lockheed Martin's SR-72 Darkstar program had to be surfaced, and we recently saw its concept being publicly acknowledged. Even though it was just an idea from a movie, it was taken seriously enough by U.S. rivals around the world to start gathering data about this new aircraft, showcasing the gravity of the U.S.'s arms capability and its effect.
Okay, I like this channel, but the way you're saying no way anything happened like that. I get it, the movie told about it, but adversaries, China, probably knew about it much before even the movie people knew about it, right? Because that's how intelligence works, right? You have to suck pretty bad at intelligence if you didn't know about it, and you have to find out from the fucking movie. But yeah, there was like a whole thing about the movie and how like China was basically like looking at that or something.
On the world. What exactly does SR-72 have that makes it so blatantly threatening to U.S. rivals? Well, the SR-72 program has seen multiple development challenges, and the technology needed to propel an aircraft 6 times the speed of sound is simply too complex to be implemented easily. In November 2013, the U.S. Air Force Chief of Staff, General Mark Welsh, stated that the service needed a hypersonic aircraft that would significantly reduce the reaction time for any adversary, and that the Air Force was interested in regaining its hypersonic superiority. By December 2013, this statement changed, and the Air Force declined to fund the SR-72 program, claiming it had never reached out to Lockheed Martin for the SR-72. Pressed by budget cuts and other factors, the U.S. military chose to develop the Northrop Grumman RQ-180 unmanned aerial vehicle to conduct its intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, or ISR missions, as it was much cheaper and less complex than the SR-72 program, but still kept so confidential that not a single...
Yeah, I think it's stealthier. There's a reason why it looks like B-2 or B-21, whatever, because it's stealthy. So radars can't pick it up. It doesn't have man inside, so even if it gets shot down, they don't have to worry about, a person getting caught or something or whatever, right? I'm pretty sure they could have added something like explosive inside. Like if it gets destroyed, it probably gets destroyed or some shit like that, so nobody can get hand on that thing. So it just works in that way. So they're like, okay, why use a man-made thing when you can use a stealthier plane? But I'm sure like there's been a lot of situations where like you need a person inside. And by that point, like, yeah, just make something really fast, like Blackbird. Why? It just makes sense. This is one of those things, oh, tanks are obsolete. Not really. You will still need them, right? Like, there will be still use of it. There's something like that.
Single image exists of the RQ-180 UAV. Work on the SR-72 was then carried out in complete confidentiality until 2015, when NASA awarded the contract to study dual-mode engines to achieve speeds greater than Mach 6 and envisioned the SR-72 as the perfect ISR and strike platform. By 2017, Lockheed Martin had a complete R&D of the SR-72 Darkstar, claiming it could get started on development by the early 2020s. In 2018, Lockheed Vice President Jack O'Banion further entailed the integration of modern technologies in the SR-72 Darkstar program, like computer modeling and 3D printing, which could potentially solve...
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Material science, but also accuracy, right? Like we can really craft something very, very specific with close to no margin of error. So you can create smallest things that can, like manipulate aerodynamics in a way that it just works without adding too much weight to it. You don't have to make chunks of things that have to fit, and it might not fit well, so it might like deconstruct how Blackbird was doing. So a lot of weak points of Blackbird is not going to be part of this. It's just going to be stable. I highly doubt it's going to get damaged or something. Of course, it's going to need maintenance, but with the science of today, how accuracy we have, yeah, it's going to be really good.
Of the problems that would have made it impossible to build an SR-72 in the last 5 years. It goes without saying that there was absolutely no public information about the SR-72 program, and officially, it just didn't exist until it got renewed public interest after its appearance in Top Gun: Maverick. Complete secrecy was, and still is.
Why does it have vertical fins though? This is a fast plane that doesn't need maneuverability, right? Why does it because it's so fast, without it can't even turn. Is that the case? So even if you have to have minor turns, that's Mach 6 or something, Mach 5, Mach 6, you need vertical fins. Is that it?
Is the key that has enabled the U.S. government to innovate and shock the world with its superiority in arms and capability. But what about the current status of the program, and what's at stake for the United States? Currently, there have been no documented flights or tests of the SR-72, but it is likely because of the confidentiality of the program. For all we know, the aircraft could be in the initial production stage or test flights. However, the hints being dropped by Lockheed Martin now and then suggest that the U.S. has never been out of its #1 spot in the hypersonic weapons industry. With significant improvements in the U.S. military's technological capabilities, they race to own a hypersonic aircraft capable of penetrating enemy airspace at high speeds and completing ISR and strike missions. And the U.S.'s global position. Russia and China are most likely to take a competitive stance with their own versions of hypersonic jets. Throughout the past, there have been multiple hypersonic weapons and UAVs that most defense systems have gotten used to, employing anti-surveillance systems and high-speed tracking systems, making them less effective. The basic principle that can single-handedly defeat these systems is speed, and lots of it. And the SR-72 does exactly that. At Mach 6, it can travel thousands of kilometers within seconds, giving its enemies a fraction of the time to react or even acknowledge its presence. And
4,000 miles. So, yeah. Seconds? I mean, yeah, 10 seconds makes sense.
Thing we can be sure of is the United States being the only capable country
10 minutes. How is it traveling thousands of kilometers in seconds?
in the world of operating this aircraft due to its fearless and effective strategies. Whether good or bad, only time will tell, but SR-72 and projects like it are perhaps the future of hypersonic warfare, until someone can figure out how to travel at speeds greater than the speed of light. Bye for now.
Come on, man. All right. Anybody who discovers we can travel faster than speed of light, yeah, by that point, like, there is no battle, because either everybody will be dead or everybody will be like, you know what, enough of this shit. Let's just kumbaya, because that shit is next level. If you can do that, you can do a lot of things. Yeah, SR-72 Darkstar, it makes sense. Like, okay, I like how like USA is just like flexing like this, and China like, we're gonna match that, and just like on like basically Psycho from Fallout, just like put Psycho, oh, we're gonna do this, and India's like, hey, cool down, man, you don't have to do that. Okay, let USA do its thing. You don't have to like match things, right? No, don't make something like Darkstar. Come on. Right, well, that was US Air Force declared SR-72 Darkstar is real. Yeah, I'm pretty sure US has many shit that we don't know about. We'll never know about until very late. But yeah, with all the technology, AI is the one thing I know that US is like crushing right now. I wouldn't be surprised if their AI is better than the commercial one, and they can do really complex shit with basically no margin of error. That's the scariest thing. Margin of error is one thing that gives everybody, like fighting chance. If you have something that has no margin of error, like targeting and striking like matter of milliseconds or even smaller than nanoseconds, because you have like that level of AI, yeah, you're gonna hit anything that you want to hit with insanely fast speed. By that point, there is no war. Like you just gonna cross everything, right? It just depends on how many missiles a plane can fire at how fast. And that's how the battle's going to decide. Like, that's insane. I bet US is trying to do that shit. All right, I'll see you next time.